Greetings, everyone. Rajee Narinesingh here, transgender activist, author, and actress. You may recognize me from that reality show Botched on the E! Network, season 2, 3, and 4. So, anyway, remember back in the day? Well, I was told that they're still running those commercials, but they really used to run these commercials like years ago. Back in the day, I mean, they would run them on like all the major networks. The military commercials, like join the military, be all you can be. You get to travel the world and you get a free education. And they always made the commercial make it look like, oh my God, you were like signing up for paradise. And I mean, it was all the branches of the military. The U.S. Army, the U.S. Navy, Marines, Air Force, and especially the Army and the Marines. Oh my God. It was like, become a Marine and you can see the world and get your education. I mean, these commercials were like really beautiful commercials. It was a great marketing campaign. And really, even back then, in my youth, my naive self knew that it was like just that, a marketing campaign. Because I had this thing in me that like, they're making this thing to look, like it's like, you're signing up for all this wonderfulness. And I knew like that it wasn't that. Like you would sign up for that and then the nightmare would begin once you got to boot camp. Oh my God. So I went to this event last night. It's Transgender Awareness Month. And I'm here in my humble home here in South Florida, the United States of America. And so it's Transgender Awareness Month. And they have a number of different events going on. So this is the day after that I'm doing this video. But last night I went to this event for transgender veterans. Trans people that have served in the military. Now, none of these people had transitioned yet, physically. But, honey, when you're trans, it starts within. Like, it's inside. And then, a lot of times you eventually evolve to hopefully make your outsides match how you feel inside. On the inside, mentally, spiritually, all of that stuff. So, they hadn't transitioned yet. But even, like, like before I transitioned, before any of us transitioned, people see it. Like, I always say being a woman isn't just putting on a dress and makeup. I mean, like, it's literally your essence. The way you gesture, the way you talk, the way you walk, your personality traits, and all of that is there. So people see it, So even though they hadn't physically transitioned, they were basically trans, just not on the outside yet. So anyway, there's this panel there. And what I found really interesting is that all of them on the panel said that they would not recommend the military to anybody. Trans people, first and foremost, but anyone for that matter. But at the same time, they were saying that they would never give up the experience that it gave them. And it's kind of a little bit of an oxymoron to me. But, being the philosopher that I am and like really trying to understand things, I interpreted it this way. What they went through, they gained a strength from it. It kind of makes them who they are, because everything we go through, makes us who we are in this particular moment. So it's a part of them, and they got strength and they learned a lot. And so I think they're saying they wouldn't give that up for the world. They wouldn't give that experience up because of all of that. But they don't recommend it to anyone. So that was really interesting. And I was so, I had questions and I was really engaged. Honey, there was this Latino trans man who was in the army, I think. And he was on the panel looking at me like, bitch, if you don't shut the fuck up and stop asking so many damn questions. And if I was your sergeant, you'd have hell to pay. No, I'm playing. But some of those looks, but anyway, no, I'm playing. But, I started to think about the ego trip that the military must have. Like, the ego trips that go on in that fucking military. I mean, picture this. You're under the command of someone that doesn't like you for whatever reason. Whether it's the way you talk, the way you walk, how you look, your personality, they just don't like you. I can almost guarantee that it's going to be a harder motherfucking road for you. Like, you're going to have to work harder and you're going to be picked on more. And that shit is so not fair. But hey, I'm a trans woman and I know the world isn't fair. Life isn't fair. I mean, come on. Talk about equality. Fuck equality. Equity. In most cases, equity does not exist. Everyone is just not on the same level of playing field. So anyway, I can just imagine that. There was this trans woman on the panel who served, and she's a great entertainer, by the way. She's probably so sick of me saying that. Every time I see her, I give her props. But honey, I guess she's over it now. She's probably sick of hearing it. But anyway, she was sharing an incident where she was called to a separate area, and literally a group of, I guess, her higher-ups beat the shit out of her. Okay? They beat the shit out of her. And then afterwards gave her an award. I'm like, what kind of motherfucking mind games is the military, playing? Like, what the fuck is that? Beat the shit out of you and then you get an award. And one of my trans sisters who was sitting next to me said, well, that sounds like a motherfucking street gang. And one of the trans guys who on the panel who I happen to love, that's one of my babies, he said, well, the military's the biggest gang in America. And I was like, wow, that is like really, if that's not saying something, my God. So anyway, they kept saying, well, they break you down to build you up. They break you down to build you up. And I'm like, break you down to build you up. I don't want to hear that. That shit to me, that's just such bullshit. But I know, I know, because again, me being the philosopher that I am, and wanting to understand things and processes and all of that. Okay, the American military is supposed to be like one of the great militaries of the world. Like, we're considered to have like a really high ranking when it comes to militaries around the world. So I'm sure there's a method to the madness, and they of course have their system. What I'm thinking it is, that whole break you down to build you up, is they don't want anyone in the military to think outside the box and to be their separate thinking person, like individual. When you sign up for the military, you actually literally belong to the government of the military that you sign up to. And therefore, they break you down and build you up because they want you to totally be under their control and the command. It's like this system, and you're in it, and you're one of the numbers in the system, and they want to know that when they give an order, you're going to do what they fucking order to do. And so I think that whole thing of break you down to build you up comes from. And it's probably a number of other shit that goes on to do that to a person, to get them to be like totally engaged in the madness, I'll call it. But anyway, when we were leaving, my trans sister said, yeah, that break you down to build you up, that's like taking a little boy and pushing him in front of a moving bus and letting him get run over, and then you take him to the hospital and get him all fixed up. And it's like, I'm building you up again. And did you learn the lesson? Don't run in front of a moving bus. I cracked up. I was like, oh my God, what kind of shit is this? And I kept thinking about my 18-year-old self when I was going to register for the draft. Because, honey, in those days, that was the law. If you were male and you were 18, you had to go register. And I kept thinking, honey, if they ever call me, I'm going to prance up in that place. I'll be the biggest faggot. And I can say that word, okay? It's kind of like the N-word. If you have some black in you, you have a pass to say it. So anyway, I would be the biggest faggot walking up into that recruitment center, and they'd be like, you need to go home. And I'd be like, bye. Because I didn't want any part of it, any part of the military. So, so I just found that interesting, that whole thing of breaking down to build you up. But I think that's where that's rooted in, you know? And they want to know that when they give an order, you're going to do exactly what they say. So, and literally the panel was saying, I forgot who it was on the panel, but, you know, like, if you're ordered to shoot and kill a child, you have to do it. And I was like, oh my God. Like, wow, like, it takes a special breed to even be able to be in that situation. So I said to them, I said, okay, well, I understand, like, being in the system, being a part of the military, being given an order and knowing that you can't say no. You know, you have to do it. But, like, I'm sure as human beings, like, that stuff got to you, right? Like, wouldn't you feel sorry about that? And none of them on the panel said anything. They're just sitting there. Like, I'm like, but as a human being, and it was like they would not acknowledge it. And then someone on the panel, I think it was my trans man, my boo, that said, well, it's either you or them. He said, they will, in war zones, they will have children that are like placing bombs in places, and women that are wearing bombs and stuff. They use their women and children. And, you know, granted, yes, I guess in that scenario, it is either you or them. But like looking at the whole picture, I mean, those children especially are victims. Like, even though they are the enemy in that moment and they're doing something like but they're doing what they're being told to do by adults. They're like the victims too of the war. And I'm like, why do we have to have fucking wars? Like, hello, like, when will we as human beings, like, finally learn that lesson? Like, why can't we just live in peace? Like, the whole thing is fucked up. Wars, all you do is you lose lives. And, you know, the military, from what I heard last night, I mean, I already had a kind of a gut feeling of what goes on. But from what I heard last night, I mean, the military is fucked up. Like, you know, that whole brain fuck, mental fuck that you get. And a lot of those, you can tell they are affected. Now they're out of the military, and you can see that they are like traumatized, like in their own ways. Everyone was different on the panel, but in the profound words of Rodney King, can't we all get along? Can't we all fucking get along? Oh my God, it's just horrific. But you know what? It's reality. It's reality. There are wars. Countries do need military. And, you know, I salute everyone that served in some form of the military. I mean, I really do. And I'm thankful for your service. And especially to my trans sisters and brothers who did it. I mean, I absolutely, like, bow down to you, because I know I couldn't have done it. You know, and being trans, and even though you weren't physically trans yet, I'm sure, although those trans men were probably pretty butch women, but anyway, well, hey, I'm sure the trans girl on the panel, the performer that I love so much when she performed, she was probably really feminine too, but it was showing. That's what I'm saying. It must have been hell to deal with the transphobia, the homophobia that I know must be prevalent in the military. And they even said that the cover-ups that go on, horrendous. Women are sexually assaulted like a lot. Like the numbers were pretty high. And they all said that there's a lot of cover-up that goes on with the military. They cover up a lot of shit. And I was like, wow, to even be able to like go through that. I'm a very strong person. I've been through a lot. And I've been through some battles myself. I think in many ways I'm a soldier. You know, but I just don't know if I would have had it in me to be a part of that system. I think because I'm too much. I'm a thinker. I'm a philosopher, and I'm like, I don't follow. I'm not a follower. I'm more of a trailblazer, a leader. And I know that there's moments where you have to follow, but I just don't think I could have like surrendered myself to that completely for however many years, 4 years, 5 years. There was someone on the panel that gave 30-something years of service in the military. I mean, my God. So I salute you all and thank you for your service, but I just totally can see like it is just fucked up. I will continue to pray for peace. I don't know. I think we all need to. And this war has to stop because the militaries are just, it's what goes on is horrible. And the fact that we even have to have military because of the reality of war and how as human beings people want to dominate over one another. And again, like, can't we all just live in harmony and peace? And that would be a perfect world for me. I'm sure there's people out there that live on the dark side and have motivation from negativity and that sort of thing. And so they like the chaos. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just had to share what I experienced last night at this event. I mean, literally, I got a brain fuck. I really did. So anyway, I'm in the army now. La 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 la. I'm in the army now. I'm in the army now. I'm sure the U.S. military will love this. My faggotry. I'm in the army now. God, honey, they can have it. And I know, Mike, there's trans sisters and brothers that are fighting for the right to be able to be in the military. Hey, more power to you. But no thanks. Not me. And that's why there's all types of people in the world. I'll continue to be the humanitarian, the activist that I am, and I'll let whoever wants to go be boots on the ground and fight war do that. Oh. Anyway, love, peace, and blessings.